Star Wars 7x7, episode 1974. Well, the final word in the story of Skywalker might be the last time that we talk about the Rise of Skywalker before it comes out. Let's hash this through, all right? Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. Alright, so over the last few days there have been commercials and Good Morning America scenes released for the Rise of Skywalker, and I don't know about you, but I think I've hit my point where I've seen as much as I want to see before I actually see the movie. I wasn't necessarily thinking that I was going to get to this point. And, I do feel like if it's something that they're releasing officially, right? Like a commercial is an official marketing bit of information being released about the Rise of Skywalker, that, okay, it is a safe thing to see in a sense, because they should be doing this in a way that is not going to reveal too much about the movie. But I don't know, for example, there's a new commercial that came out during Thanksgiving, and it was called Duel, and in that commercial, there's a scene where the Millennium Falcon is flying inside what appears to be some sort of icy structure with TIE fighters following through it, or icy corridor, if you will. And previously, J.J. Abrams, when he was interviewed for Entertainment Weekly, he was asked if there were action sequences of the film that we had yet to see, and he said yes, and then just didn't elaborate on what any of those might be, which, perfect. Like, don't elaborate, that's fine. But I feel like we just got a peek into a new action sequence, and I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe I'm done. Maybe I'm done. And the other part of it was the bit with this new Duel commercial where there's a new voiceover from Palpatine where he says this will be the final word in the story of Skywalker. And it's like, okay, I don't want to hear any more about what he has to say either. I want to hold this until the movie. So yeah, now we've seen the Knights of Ren, like we get to see them in one of the other commercials. I think that's the Fate commercial. And, they're up on some sort of, rocky high point and looking around. And so we know they're going to be on that planet, Pisana. All right, we kind of knew that anyway because we saw the behind the scenes photos as we talked about previously. But now we've actually seen them in actual footage on Pisana, so we know they're going to be there. And there's a scene in this latest commercial where Poe appears to be yelling, "No!" when we see what looks like a Y-Wing crashing, which is, of course, you're immediately going to think, oh my gosh, that's Zori Bliss and her Y-Wing. No, that's a bad thing. But interestingly enough, when you turn on the closed captions for this, he's actually yelling slow. Not no, slow for some reason. So who knows what that's about. That's kind of rather interesting, but it doesn't necessarily, erase the fact that there is a Y-Wing crashing, and I'm sure there are other Y-Wings in this fight. So I think it would be really weird for them to possibly show the end of Zori Bliss, if she is going to end, in a commercial. Like, I don't see them doing that, but still, like, you gotta stop doing this to us, or maybe we have to stop doing this to ourselves, perhaps. There's yet another scene that's new that actually suggests, well, it looks like it's Ahch-To. It looks like it is our Jedi temple planet, and Rey standing there looking at a TIE fighter on fire. So does this mean that she's going back to Ahch-To for some reason? Like, is she heading back to gather any Jedi artifacts that Luke may have left behind? Or is this more of some sort of vision? I mean, yes, still presuming that there is going to be some sort of vision for Rey, and maybe this is a part of it, a dream, if you will. And it would certainly echo things that happened in, say, Revenge of the Sith, right? With Anakin having bad dreams about Padme. And, of course, Attack of the Clones also, because he was having bad dreams about his mother in that one. And it's kind of interesting about that echo situation in the prequel trilogy. I will address that after the break. Not yet, though. But the more I've been thinking about this since seeing this last commercial that came on during Thanksgiving dinner time stuff, the more I'm thinking that, okay, maybe I'm done. And if that's the case, then, I don't think that you and I can really go through the next 3 weeks not talking about the Rise of Skywalker at all. I feel like there are still going to be some things to talk about that don't necessarily address new information that's being shared with us, new footage, new photos, new things like that. I think there may still be things to talk about. So I'm not necessarily going to say that we are done talking about the Rise of Skywalker until the movie comes out, but I think we may be done talking about new stuff. And there's so much more stuff to be talking about in the meantime. I mean, oh gosh, well, you know what? December 1st is Sunday, and that's when, we'll talk about all the amazing things that are happening in Star Wars during the month of December, and so you'll get an idea of the kind of things that we can be talking about during the month of December that won't necessarily talk about the Rise of Skywalker, but, might bear upon it, and will still be pretty interesting, at least, we hope they'll be interesting for you. And there's still a couple of things that we haven't yet talked about here on the show as well, like Resistance Reborn, or Vader Immortal, there's a lot of interesting stuff that we can still talk about. So, anyway, I would love to know what you think about that, whether you would rather, not talk about Rise of Skywalker stuff anymore, at least new stuff, when you're trying to, start locking down on your social media. I'm even considering, turning comments off on YouTube just for this time period, in case, or at least the time period for, right around the movie, just so that way no spoilers are posted by, accident or intentionally. I don't know, it's all something that I'm playing with right now. But anyway, a little bit of meta stuff about the show and how I'm dealing with the whole thing. Yeah, so, look at it at your own risk, I think, at this point is what the ultimate message of this is, because it seems like the amount of information that they are starting to reveal in this final hype run, it could be a little bit more than you or I might necessarily want, so we'll see. But that one other prequel trilogy connection that I want to talk about coming up right after the break. Stay tuned. Hey Rebel Rouser, I've made some changes to the asteroid belt level at patreon.com/SW7X7, and they are all with sponsors in mind. So if you want to get the word out about your business, your product, your service to a dedicated Star Wars audience, then please check out patreon.com/SW7X7 and look for the asteroid belt level for details. Again, that's patreon.com/SW7X7. Welcome back. So here's what I wanted to talk about with the prequel business. It seems odd to me that the names of the 3 commercials that have dropped are End and Fate and Duel. I know that, somebody's naming these commercials. I don't know who's naming them, but all 3 of those words are used in the titles of songs in the soundtrack for The Phantom Menace. In specific, Duel of the Fates, of course, that's the easy one, but the word end is used in the track for Qui-Gon's Noble End, and that is also in the Phantom Menace soundtrack. And yes, I went back and I looked at every single soundtrack title, including Michael, Giacchino's, alternate titles for Rogue One, and actually I didn't check Solo, I'll be honest. But the word end does not appear in the first 9 Star Wars soundtracks except for the use of Qui-Gon's Noble End in The Phantom Menace. So it just seemed like with Fates and Duel and End, that seems, I don't know if that's something worth making something of, but it did seem like a very odd coincidence to me. So there you go. That is the final word on the most recent commercial stuff for The Rise of Skywalker. And that's going to do it for this episode of the show as well. Thank you so much for joining me for it, as always. And may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
This podcast is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox. It is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other related Star Wars items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2019 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.